All right, and with that being said, let's go ahead now and move on to our album review for the week. This week, our album review is going to be the Pretty Wild Zero.Point.Genesis. I've talked about this group before on the show, and how I was going to potentially at some point put them as a band of the week, but I decided to make it a little bit more special, actually give them a full album review here since this is their first full album. I initially heard of this band from the collab that they did with Deadlands on Kundalini and thought that they had great voices and meshed very well with Casey. This group has grown a ton, by the way, in just such a short time. 358,000 monthly listeners on YouTube Music, 658,000 monthly listeners on Spotify. These are two sisters based out of Las Vegas, Nevada, Jill and Jules Wild. I watched a couple of interviews with them on Metal Queens podcast and Heartbeat magazine, and I know that they're from Indiana originally, but moved out to Nevada after their mom passed away. The band was formed in 2022. They were actually initially country rock. I actually listened to one of their old songs, Betting on Us, and then I listened to Sleepwalker, which is their most popular song that came out a couple years ago. And oh my God, night and day, obviously. Just absolutely crazy. Listening to Sleepwalker, I know that we're going to get some interesting breakdowns, some rap. Jill, I believe, does all the rap. I also know that she helped teach Jules how to scream. Jill also does some form of MMA and gymnastics too, and she's freaking ripped as well. What can't this girl do? You know, Jules is great too, but Jill is insane. So definitely excited to get into this album. Their first one came out in November of last year. Just a quick note on other members of the band. On guitar is Mason Wright. Also does a lot of their social media, I believe. Michael Owens on bass, and then Brandon Ackerman on drums. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get into each song here. We're going to start off with Paradox, the first song on the album. Right away in this song, we've got screams and heavy bass, and then we go to cleans with, disassociating. But it's kind of like a creepy vibe, almost like baby talk there. Definitely layers of both the heavy and the cleans, even 30 seconds into the song. I really love the pre-chorus build up here. I also like how the rap from Jill in the song perfectly flows back into some of those higher screams and then effortlessly back into the pre-chorus. The Summon the Reckoning breakdown is great as well. I love the guitars here. I think that it's from the synth, but you can also hear a bit of melodic sound in the background here as well. I think a big note is disassociating, slipping back into the void, and then split by duality's pole. I think it's just about trying to escape from a dark place, but finding yourself at times just getting sucked back down, trying to almost rebuild oneself. And that kind of makes sense when you consider their mom passing away. Plus, who knows what else they've had to deal with in their lives, too. So, a great opening track here, definitely. And that leads to the title track on the album, Zero.Point.Genesis. Right away in this one, we've got violin in the beginning, which is certainly unique, and it continues throughout the song. I really enjoy the clean vocals here too. We've now had Void mentioned in both of the first two songs. Just a couple of parts of this song. Looked up to the stars from the back of a hearse, let the ash blow away, shed this black hole universe. You have Forged by the Darkness, Spark New Genesis. Really love the chorus here. Another part of the song, Destroyed, then rejoined at the 0 point. Again, I think this is just kind of confronting past darkness and demons, finally creating a new life for oneself. I also have to say, just coming from a country rock start with the band and then being able to be this solid with both harsh growls and screams and then those higher fry screams is pretty impressive. The one thing I'll also say too, just noticing it, is their voices between Jill and Jules. At times they're so similar, it's kind of hard to distinguish. I believe Jill is a bit higher and Jules is a bit lower, which would make sense with the influences too, because I believe Jill is more into hyper pop while Jules is more into modern metal and some classical music. And speaking of classical, one final note with this song, I love the theatrical classical nature of the instrumental at the end of the song. So definitely a great track here too. And that leads us on to Living Dead. This gives more of a pop vibe with some dark undertones. The chorus is definitely a bop here. Even there in the chorus, we get some screams from high to low with the Living Dead. At the second chorus, the song kind of calms back down a bit. We have some clean vocals. There's also another breakdown in the song at In Death We Wake. another a big quote of this song: two opposite halves fit together perfectly. We fail to see what's underneath a reptile with sharp teeth. I just get the sense that it's about, we try to show that everything's okay to everyone else and live life, exist in society, but deep down we kind of all have struggles and things aren't always as good as they seem. So in a way, trying to exist within societal expectations a bit. And another quote to go along with that: I see the cracks in your smiles and they're opening. It's the mask of false empathy. We're essentially zombies going about our everyday lives. So that's kind of the sense I get from this one. Um, we go on to what is creatively the song of the album for me so far, and it's up there for one of the most creative on in all of their discography so far, and that's Button Eyes. It's theatrical, whimsical, spooky. I absolutely love it. I could see this even being in like a Tim Burton film. I'm a huge Ice Nine Kills fan myself, so I definitely got some vibes from that here too. It's just this song's freaking incredible. Looking back to last week, I mentioned in a Spell on You by Pretty Reckless in their new album Dear God, that had to do with being manipulated and used kind of like a doll. I get the same vibes here, a little bit of being controlled in many ways in life. Part of this song, Stitch is tearing, severed beyond repairing. I'm done hanging by threads that you keep breaking. I'm ripping out these button eyes. Kind of like I'm done getting used and I'm standing up for myself finally. And also one other thing to note: that the scissor sound followed by cut out the parasite in the breakdown is incredible too. It's the best breakdown yet. Leads to one of the most angry choruses yet too. Just a great song for self empowerment here as well. This is an incredible song. I love this 10 out of 10 song for sure. That brings us on to Priestess. This is another song where we start right away super heavy with harsh screams and heavy bass. Definitely fast paced in this one. This continues really what the theme of the album's been so far, which is just escaping darkness and just self empowerment. One thing to note is that this is the longest and heaviest breakdown on the song, from when she says, "We chained her worth to our need," to "God is dead and we have killed her." So a longer breakdown here, but just continues kind of with the theme of the album. Then we go to, I mentioned how creatively Button Eyes might be the song of the album. Musically, overall, this is my favorite song on the album, and that's Omens. Love this song so much. I think I love this more than Sleepwalker, Mania, which is another song they've done, and then obviously Button Eyes. But I mean, from the heavy intro with the bass and the drums to the clean vocals, the super catchy chorus, the breakdown. This breakdown's a close second right behind Button Eyes as we go from a rap beat to the Watch Me, and then the Siri proceed to the root, which is pretty cool. Kind of made me laugh the first time I heard it, but then it was just like, oh, this meshes really well, and it was perfect listening after. The heavy scream on the dead end and then back to the cleans again is almost effortless too. I love the extension too of when she says the oh men's, like it's not omens, it's oh men's bleed. It's kind of cool. And bleeds even extended out a little bit too. I also like that the second time they say nowhere to turn now, the turn is a much higher note. The end of the song with the crazy scream on bleed, followed by just a super low scream of these omens bleed, just screams pure anger here. And again, we just keep talking in the song about, the dead ends. And that could all just be kind of about a toxic loops that comes from just, kind of being a fake person and trying to escape it. Kind of an anthem to just be who you are and just trust yourself a bit. Really, really love this song. This is great. We go from there to the trial. The trial, again, we go theatrical here, kind of like we did back in Button Eyes and towards the end of 0.Genesis. I get the sense that this is just about dealing with judgment from the outside world and people who try to manipulate you. It also kind of puts the mirror back at those people when saying they're hiding behind false prophecies, and the part of the song where she says, "I curse you to suffer the pain of all those you've abused." We get more speed rap here from Jill. She's really good at that, by the way. That's one of the most impressive parts about her as a performer. The theatrical part comes back again in the bridge, building up to "Let's Play." The influences from theater, opera, and I also know they've spoken about their influences when it comes to myths and legends. And it's funny, the "Let's Play" here, the baby talk back in Paradox, and the doll talk from Button Eyes could almost all be kind of like from horror, just adding those spooky, creepy vibes in there. Just love all those little elements and layers they keep throwing in. Really cool. From there, we go on to Half Alive. The intro here is interesting because it's so calm, but then we almost have like an alt metal, new metal vibe in this. I guess we'll call this new metalcore. It just reminds me of something I would have heard from like 2002, 2003. Kind of a cool start here. The light, distant feeling of Jill in the background with the lyrics definitely kind of gives more of like a liminal, dark, emotional vibe here. And I think that that's kind of the point with the meaning too. To go from when they say I'm rotting from the inside at the end of the chorus to my world of grays, just get a sense here of we're kind of battling depression, some trauma, some darkness here, but also, could potentially, be coming out of it on the other side, mentioning, bleeding velvet petals and butterflies, internalizing pain, kind of dealing with the darkness of it all. But when you've come out on the other side, there could be some beauty there. I think that's kind of the sense of Half Alive, right? The battle between colorful beauty and life, but also darkness, tragedy, and trauma, and kind of just, the balance of that. This is their most mellow song so far on the album. It's also very dark, but it's beautiful. I really like it. Um, Speaking of dark and in terms of at least lyrically, we go on to Afterlife. This features Magnolia Park as well. Joshua Roberts of Magnolia Park, the mix of him along with, I believe it's Jill, their voices work really well here. They complement each other. We have the speed rap again from Jill from Everything We Ever Did Comes Rushing Back In to If It Didn't End at the Reaper's Scythe. God, I'm gonna mispronounce that. I apologize. But to me though, that's basically just saying, love is a connection so powerful that it can carry beyond the grave. And the reason I say that to me, this is almost like the saddest, darkest song on the album is if you really kind of just take collectively what we've heard so far on this album, you dive deep into these songs. And again, I don't want to pretend like I have all the answers here, but this band formed after their mom passed away. You think of the themes of the album trying to step out of a shell, become oneself, living with darkness and grief, now about this love. I'm sure it's not all that this is about, but this could at least be partially about their mom, which is just absolutely heartbreaking to me. I'm not sure how many others have passed or the other darkness they've had to deal with in their lives, but I imagine their mom had a major influence on them and their music. But they've also had to find themselves a lot since her passing, and this music is kind of helping them do so a bit. And that's the great thing about music, is it can help us carry us out of really dark times of our lives and give us some strength. And they're doing a great job of that here, but I definitely feel for these girls for sure. From there, we go on to Infrared. We have kind of electronic to start the song with the synths, and it gives a pop vibe before picking up about 20 seconds in. To be honest, probably for me, the least favorite on this album, just for me musically. I don't know. It just feels like there are some things on this that are a little out of place. The pop and then the metal breakdown don't necessarily go together here, in my opinion. I kind of get two things here, just from the sense of the lyrics versus the sense of seeing through people and their fakeness a bit. And the second is just feeling kind of like a part of you dying when things get bleak, but also being able to grow out of it as a person. So that's the sense I get here. And that leads to the final song on the album, Persephone. I was kind of curious, the name of the album, but also, figured with what I was saying earlier with them being into myths and legends that this had to do at least somewhat, had to be somewhat about a character. And I looked it up and it was. This is the goddess of spring, the queen of the underworld, but more importantly, she also symbolizes a changing of seasons. A lot of this album has to do with the changing of a person throughout chaos and darkness. And we get that right away with the first lyric, as I become myself, you won't recognize me. The lyrics here also feel very up close and personal. And I think this is just about, Jill and Jules' growth and transformation as people over time. Another part of this song, you claimed an abduction, but I stepped through the gate. An escape, if you will, almost to say, as if to say it's my time to shine. Another part, born from my demise, reclaim what was mine. Again, just the overall theme of kind of trying to find oneself. So a great finish to the album. My overall thoughts just on the album, when you factor in the overall theme of it, how everything, tied so well into each song, plus the fact this is their first album and, that they've switched genres within the past 4 years. I'm giving this an 8.25 out of 10. I give it just a little bit higher than Dear God. I really enjoyed this. There are two incredible songs on here, in my opinion, in Button Eyes and Omens. Any Given Day either could be a favorite of mine. Afterlife, I think, is also also super underrated on here. Very much enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to hearing more from them in the future. Can't wait to eventually see them live. I unfortunately won't be able to see them at Aftershock this year live, as I have something else going on the day that they're playing there. But these two girls are super talented, and they've got nothing but a great future ahead of them when it comes to what they're capable of. So great stuff here for sure. And yeah, we'll keep our ear out and our eyes out for more to come. Hey everyone, I'm Aaron Jackson, the host of Valkyrie Sessions. If you enjoyed this review, I'd love to invite you to check out the full podcast. Each week, we dive into everything happening in woman-focused rock and metal, from album reviews and band of the week to festival news, artist interviews, and the long-term vision behind Valkyrie Fest. You can watch full episodes every Friday right here on YouTube or listen on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. I'd love to have you join us. Until next time, keep it rockin', and I'll see you on Valkyrie Sessions.